Good afternoon, all. This is Ron Zetcher, Coach Zetcher, with the Then and Now podcast. And today, my guest will be Tom Dore, great basketball player at the University of Missouri. And then Tom embarked on another career as a play by play announcer for the Chicago Bulls. And he was there for a long, long time. And Tom has some great stories. He has some great insight into the business, and also he was very close to Michael Jordan and that whole great Bulls team, Coach Jackson, and so forth. But before the Tom comes on, um, there's a few things I want to say. First of all, if you can see the shirt I'm wearing, that's the University City Indians. I'm very proud uh, graduate of that school. And then you see the Washington U shirt. That also is something I'm very proud of, that I was a graduate of Washington U. I don't know how, but it happened. And I was a baseball player for the great Irv Utz. And then, of course, the green shirt, maybe you can't quite make out the name on it, but it's Spady School. That's an elementary school in Ladue that has just the greatest, it's just a phenomenal school, terrific leadership, great teachers, great services there for all kids. Every kid that needs some extra service, Spady School just they make it happen. And then they have a phys ed teacher over there who happened to be a quarterback for me many, many years ago, freshman football, Mark Williams. I've worked with a lot of great PE teachers over the years at all the elementary schools in Ladue. Mark Williams stands alone. He's just the best. And anybody who knows him will agree with me. Last week, I talked a little bit about my daughter, Stephanie, who was a mountain climber. So, I have four other daughters, so I have to mention each one of them today. I don't want any problems in my family. So, my daughter Emily is works at the JCC, and she's in charge of the Maccabi games. I'm very proud of her. She's getting ready for those this year. And my daughter Kim is a real estate agent and doing very well and works hard every day. And then my daughter Jennifer is a preschool teacher, and I'm very proud of the things she does. And then my youngest daughter Jessica is a nanny and does a very, very good job taking care of little kids. And she also is a dog walker and watches dogs and so forth and so on. So I'm very proud of them. Now, let's go a little further. When I get Mr. Dore on today, I will tell you this. We will have a really fun time together. He is one of the funniest guys that I've ever been around. I'm honored to know him, and I wanted to share this with everybody who doesn't know about Tom Dore. He's 7 foot 2 inches tall. Yes, he is, and he was a first ex basketball player to do play by play. Play by play is a lot different than being an analyst. Play by play is difficult, and he was really good at it. I believe he started his play by play announcing at the University of Texas, maybe. I know he did some play by play for the University of Missouri, and then he caught a break and got hired by the Bulls. And I'm going to let him talk about how that happened. It was a very interesting story. Um, Also, there's a few things here I do want to talk about. My friend Rich Eichhorst, who I spent just many, many nights with officiating all over the country, one of the finest men that I've been around, lost a daughter, and I went to the visitation and the funeral, and I'm heartbroken that he has lost this wonderful daughter. He had four daughters. I'm sorry, I had a five, and he's just a good man, and he's got a wonderful wife, Barb. And I was quite frankly very sad when I left the funeral home. I have another friend, a little guy by the name of Larry Muskin, who's suffering now, and I just am sending some prayers out to him. I hope that he gets better and gets back on his feet. Anyway, last week I mentioned briefly Miss Margaret Palmer. Miss Margaret Palmer probably, I didn't know at the time, but she probably had a really big influence on me wanting to become a teacher and a coach. I'll tell you a quick story about Margaret Palmer that most people don't believe. I lived on Gannon Avenue in University City, so I used to walk run, whatever, straight up Jackson, all the way to my classroom or all the way to the playground, whatever. And I had a dog named Shag. That dog used to, there was no leash law. That dog used to follow me to school every day. And then they'd call my mom, and my mom would come up there, and the dog would follow my mom home. And this went on for quite a bit. This was the year that I was in Miss Palmer's classroom, and we were over in the University City High School building because the Jackson Park Elementary School was overcrowded. So we had our fifth grade classes over in the high school. Miss Margaret Palmer, she loved my mom. She said, you know, every day you have to come up here and go back. And the dog always got out. Well, there was no leash law. She said, if the dog behaves, the dog can stay under Ronnie's desk. That's a fact. And that dog stayed with me in that classroom often. I mean, I don't know how many days that little dog came and stayed with me under the desk, and Miss Margaret Palmer never said a word. I am so indebted to that lady for what she did and how she directed me as a really troubled little fifth grade boy. I owe her much. Miss Margaret Palmer also, I believe somebody told me that Margaret Palmer is from Ellsbury, Missouri. My friend Elliot Inger told me this. That she's from Ellsbury, Missouri, and I think the library in Ellsbury is named after Miss Margaret Palmer. What a great lady. I also mentioned last week that my experience at Hanley Junior High School was not the best. And let me try to go into that a little bit. And this is for a bunch of young kids who might be hearing this or their parents. I created most of my problems at Hanley Junior High School by my behavior and belligerence and not listening. So all the trouble that I had at Hanley Junior High School, I created. However, I didn't know too many teachers over there who really cared about people who were disruptive or, you know, interrupted them in class or did things that they were not happy with. They weren't very good at dealing with that. And so I'm going to close out my intro right now. And I can see my friend right here on the camera. He's looking good, too. You know, he's sitting down. Big Tom Dore, he's sitting down. If he stood up, his head would go right through the top of that thing. He's a 7'2" guy. Tom, it's great to see you.
Zach, it's good to be here. I really appreciate it. And man, I love the t-shirt setting. You got it going, Zach.
Well, let me just explain these t-shirts to you, big boy. The Wash and You, that's where I graduated from, and people don't believe it. But I did graduate. I graduated, Tommy.
How about that, Zach? Was that like 2 weeks ago or when?
Well, it took me a long time. I mean, my folks, when I finally graduated, it took me about 6.5 years. My mom said, honey, it's time to look for a job.
Yeah.
No kidding. And then the shirt I'm wearing right here, this is University City Indians, and I'm so proud of that school. And then they changed it from the Indians, University City Lions. Oh, my. No.
Ouch.
Don't ever call me a U City Lion. I'm a U City Indian forever. And then the green shirt, that's where I still go and do my substitute teaching over at Spady Elementary School, Tom. What a great experience that is. Great little kids. And they love me.
They don't know you very well, obviously, Zach, but they'll get to know you as they get older.
Let me tell you.
But no, you know what? I think it's great that you do that. You give back to the community and take care of those little kids. And I know you get a lot of love from them.
Well, here's why I get most of the love. My nickname over there is the recess sub. They get extra recesses, Tommy, when I'm in their room.
With me, it'd be ice cream, Zach. What can I say?
I'm with you. Well, listen, let's talk about you now, okay? Enough of that. You know, you went to East Leyden High School. Tell me a little bit about that high school career, Tom. That's where it all starts.
Well, I started at West Leyden, played there for 2 years, and then transferred. My family moved and transferred to East Leyden. You can imagine going from like Missouri to Kansas kind of thing, right?
Yes.
That's what this was. West Leyden didn't have a very good coaching staff. They just didn't know what they were doing. And East Leyden had a guy that was a Hall of Famer. He could come up with anything to win games, But more than that, he really helped kids improve, and he got a lot of kids rides that normally would not have gotten any help. He got them some help, some money, and got kids to college that normally would have had no chance. And you and I both know what that's like. I'm from the wrong side of the tracks. But East Leiden was a tough Italian neighborhood. So if I went to somebody's house, there was a good chance I had mostaccioli or linguine or some kind of pasta. But the starting group, my buddies were Ken Meddy, Benny Miles, Brian Schwacke, Rich DiBenedetto. I mean, it was all Italian, right? Except for me and another guy named Glenn Grunwald. And Glenn
Yes.
went on to be the general counsel for the Nuggets and then the general manager for the Raptors and the Knicks. And now he's an assistant GM with Memphis. Super guy. We're still really close. He was I was a good player. He was a great player. He could score on anybody, but he picked a bad time to have a bad game. I think he finished like 3 of 20 or 3 of 21 from the field, and we lost. We lost in the state tournament by 7, something like that, 8, 10, somewhere in there.
Hey, Tom.
But great kid and super school. Just one of those where football team was really good. The wrestlers were good. The teachers cared. They'd give you the extra help. They'd give you a knock on the head if that's what you deserved. And so it was that kind of an era, but it was that kind of a school. It was great people.
Well, listen, Tom, you talked about, and you remembered every name of every one of your Italian buddies. Well, when I went to U City, it was all Jewish kids, Sandy Pomerantz and Marty Barnholtz. I can remember each guy, and Bob Schneider, gee whiz. And then there was a guy, he's still a friend of mine. He's still with us. His name was Joe Garvey. He was one of the only non-Jewish guys. So he used to go to bar mitzvahs when we were in the junior high school. And so the rabbi over at my temple, he sees this Garvey kid there about 4. You know how those bar mitzvahs were? Every weekend you had another one, and another one. Guys turned 13 a week later. He comes up to Garvey one day, says, he says, I don't think you're a Jewish boy, are you? And Garvey says, no, I'm going to go to Catholic. He says, well, if you keep coming here, I can convert you if you want to be with your buddies. Oh, it was just awesome. We had with another kid, Stan Coleman was on that team, and Sandy Jaffe.
But you were real close with Kenny Holzman, one of the great pitchers of all time. And I'm a big baseball fan, always have been. And I met Kenny a couple times. What a great pitcher for the Cubs. Now, how did you know Kenny?
Well, Kenny was younger than me. I'll tell you a quick story about Kenny when he was so we used to go behind Jackson Park Elementary School, and we'd play corkball. We'd take a tennis ball and we'd shave it down. Yep. You know the game, and we'd play there. And this little guy on his bike would come up all the time. He wanted to play with us. We were all high school guys, pretty damn good athletes. Hey, go home. Go ride your bike.
Yeah, right, exactly. Go away, kid. You bother me.
So finally the kid keeps coming up, and finally we said, okay, you want to play? Fine. What do? I pitch. He says, I pitch. So this little guy's about 10 years old. He's got this shaved off cork ball. Remember Art Shamsky?
Yeah.
Played for the 69 Mets. So Shamsky's in this cork ball game. This little kid throws Shamsky about 3 of them that started at his nose and ended up at his toes. And Shamsky looked like a fool. It was Holtzman. It was Kenny. And he was like, Kenny graduated in 63, so about 6 years behind us. And he could throw that breaking ball when he was a young kid. I'm not kidding you. In fact, this Garvey kid that I just mentioned to you that played with us, he umpired youth baseball in those days when Holtzman was like, 9 and 10 or 11. Garvey said it was a joke. I mean, you should never even have a game. The game's over before it starts. No kid could ever even come close to hitting him.
That's amazing. Those kids are so much fun to watch grow up.
Yes.
And high school, college, or minor leagues. And then when they finally make it, that's such a big deal. God, that's so much fun.
How about this, Tom? How about you? Let's talk about you. And I want you to tell this. I want you to tell this viewing audience how you were recruited by all these big time schools and all the stuff they were promising you, and then Norm came along. Let's hear it.
Oh, the Norm story is great. Yeah, I won't name any of the schools, but one of the schools I went to, I met one of the big donors. And I told you the story the other day. Don't say who it was, but one of their players was playing. I think he was against me on the other team in one of the All American games. And he said, "You know why guys from our school don't leave to go to the NBA early? And that's because they can't afford the pay cut." And so that happened. I had several schools like that. Southeastern Conference was very prevalent in that. I was probably ranked about a sixth or seventh team All American. Now, that's the sixth or seventh best center in the country. That's not bad. But I went to one All American game. It was the United States, so 49 states against California. And they were loaded. This was Reggie Theus and Brad Holland and Bill Cartwright, Bill Lambier. I mean, they were loaded. I think of the 12 guys on the team, I think 9 started in the NBA, when they played, and there were 3 or 4 All Stars. I mean, they were loaded. So anyway, we played against them, and I played against Bill Cartwright. I was the last guy on the team picked, right? My high school coach, the kid I was talking about a minute ago, Glenn Grunwald, Glenn was the guy that they wanted. Then they found out, oh, he's a junior, he can't go. But I got this senior. You're really going to want this kid. Somebody else backed out, so they let me in. And I went in and I played really well. Played well defensively, kind of shut Cartwright down. And then I scored, I don't know, 17, 18, 19 points, something like that. Now, in an all-star game, they don't throw the ball to the center. I mean, they just don't. If the ball gets passed twice, that's a big deal. Well, I had Kyle Macy, one of the great point guards on my team. Mace, and we had Winfred Boynes played in the NBA, Bernard Toon, Looney Toon. We had a fun. I mean, this was a fun group. So at the end of the game, they're just throwing me the ball. The coach, he's a former NBA guy, calls a timeout and says, "No, you guys are supposed to lose. That's the whole idea." So I fired him right then and there. I said, "You get out of the huddle. We're not talking to you." And Kyle Macy comes over, and so we all planned, this is what we're going to do. We ended up losing. David Greenwood made a 15-footer at the buzzer to beat us. But we had a blast. So I played really well. Anyway, so all these coaches are promised, oh, you're going to come in and start. You'll do this. You'll be player of the year in the conference. All kinds, and promising money and clothes and cars and apartments and all kinds of stuff. So I went to my high school coach before any of this really started, and I said, anybody offers me anything illegal, and we're crossing them off the list. They are not going to be. I don't want to talk to any of them. In retrospect, that really wasn't very smart. It sounded
No.
good at the time, but
Right.
it wasn't very smart. Anyway, so we invite 5 schools to talk to me, and then I was going on, I think, 3 official visits. Norm Stewart walks in, and I'm telling you, everybody was like, "You're going to be so good." Norm walks in and says, "Look, everybody's probably been telling you how great you are and how you're going to start and all that. You won't start next year. I can guarantee you that. You may not play. Now, that'll be up to you, but you will not start. We're going to be really, really good." Well, they were. They lost by a couple points to Michigan to go to the Final Four, and got a really terrible goaltending call. And one of the all-time great referees called the goaltending and came to Norm the next year and apologized and said, "You know what? I've looked at the tape, and it wasn't. If that goaltending goes the other way, Missouri, Norm gets to his first Final Four."
Willie Smith.
What?
Willie Smith, right?
Willie Smith was on that team, Tim
45.
Anderson, Jim Kennedy. They were loaded.
Well, you played a big role down at Missouri until you had an injury, and that kind of disrupted your career. As far as you really going into the NBA and being a real big time NBA player, but you did end up in the NBA with the
Yeah.
Chicago Bulls, and I want you to tell the viewing audience, Tom, how you got hired and how they called you up and so forth and so on, and then how you reacted when you called your former wife on the phone. I got to hear it. I got to hear it.
So to start off, one of my best friends is a Cardinal legend, radio announcer, John Rooney. Runes and I go way back to when he was the fill-in on the Missouri broadcast for Bobby Costas. So Bobby was our main announcer. I think he was doing the St. Louis Spirits at the time. So when he'd have a Spirit game, he'd have to miss, and John Rooney would do our games. So Runes and I have been friends since 70 something. Joe Castiglione was also part of that. As the former athletic director at OU, I just saw Joe a couple of days ago. Anyway, so we have Runes and I are really tight. He is the Chicago Bulls radio guy. They were a simulcast, but he couldn't do, like, I don't know, 5 or 6 games because he was going to White Sox spring training. And so he said, Tommy, why don't you talk to the Bulls, send them a tape, let them hear you, and see what you think. And so I walked into Joe Castiglione and said, Joey, you know this guy, right? Guy's name was Steve Shanwald, who just gave, I think, $18 million to Maryland as a big donation. But anyway, so I send my tape in, and they call me and say, hey, we'd like you to do these 5, 6 games. My first game on the radio, I'm working with Tom Borwinkle. Tommy B was one of my dearest friends once I got there. So Tommy B and I are just ready to work this one game at Detroit, the year the Bulls finally broke through and beat the Pistons to go to the NBA Finals and then beat the Lakers. So that was my first year. So I go down and get ready. Tommy and I walk down, get ready to get on the bus. And Michael comes over and sits next to me. He says, who the hell are you? What are you doing here? And so I tell him the story, and here's who I am, played in Missouri, that kind of thing. We became great friends. All 5 or 6 games, he's like, you need me pregame, you need me postgame. You just tell me before anybody else, I'll get you. So that Detroit game, I said, Michael, this would be a good game afterwards, because I think you guys are ready to break through. Do you mind after the game coming over and just talk to us for 2 minutes or so? He said, yeah, I'll do that. It has grown into one of the greatest friendships. He is such a good guy. He loves to gamble. God, I got all kinds of gambling stories. Anyway, so the season ends. I do those 5, 6 games. And I go home to Kansas City, and I'm, doing morning drive and then hosting a talk show with Conrad Dobler, another great St. Louis name. The Beast and I were really tight until he passed. So anyway, I know I'm dragging this out, Zetch, and I know you're like, will you please wrap this up? Anyway,
you're good.
So I get a call from Kevin Harlan from CBS, and Kevin says, hey, I've applied with the Bulls to be their TV guy. And I said, oh, Kevin, you'd be great. You do a terrific job. He said, I know they really, really like you from your time doing the radio. And I said, oh, that's great. All this time, there were hints about the known candidates for the TV job. And then there was this one unknown candidate, the mystery candidate, they called it. And my mom would get the Tribune every day. Like everybody, you got the paper delivered to your house every day. So she'd get the Tribune, and when there was something in there, she'd say, oh, I read something about the mystery candidate. He does this, or he knows, whatever it is. Well, eventually I thought, I'm kind of like this guy. I wonder who he is. So Harlan goes up to interview for the job and says, look, they're probably going to call you tomorrow. Okay, I'm going up. Oh, Kevin, that's great. Wish you luck. I hope you get it. So Kevin leaves the interview and my phone rings. My ex-wife answers it and says, "Hey, it's this guy from Chicago." Okay. I answer the phone. "Hello." He says, "Tom, it's John Toohey from, what was the name of it then? Was it Comcast? No, it wasn't Comcast. Sports Channel Chicago." I said, "Oh, John, I know why you're calling. Listen, I have not given him a chance to say anything else." I said, "John, I know why you're calling. Let me tell you about Kevin Harlan. This is one of the great people you're ever going to meet. He'll be positive. He'll sell your programs, your TV, your Bulls. Everybody's going to love him. I cannot recommend this guy highly enough." The next words out of his mouth could have knocked me over with a feather. He says, "Well, Kevin just left and he's not going to get the job." There's this long pause. I'm processing this now, Zech. It doesn't work real fast up here, okay? And I'm good with that. I'm waiting and I'm thinking, the hell are you calling me for? So that's exactly what I said. Exactly. I said, "So what the hell are you calling me for?" He says, "Well, we wondered if you'd like to come up and apply for the job." Really? Are you sure? Are you serious? Is this a joke? Is this Kim Anderson? This is Norm Stewart. I know it is. So anyway, I say, "Sure, absolutely, I'd love to." I called my mom. "Mom, I'm coming up. I might be that mystery candidate." "Nah, there's no way. There's no way." I go up and I interview. From the moment I walked in, it was a sales job. I sit down at the desk. There's Jerry Reinsdorf. There's all the Bulls people, all the TV people. There's like 18 people at this desk, and I'm on the other side. It's like one of those videos you see of the guy that is guilty, and all the judge and everybody else is over there. And I'm thinking, what the hell do I do? So I stopped him and I said, "Guys, hang on. Let me ask you a really serious question, and please don't think I'm a complete idiot. But are you sure you got the right guy? I don't know anything about the NBA, and I know even less about TV. Are you sure this is really what you want to do?" And later, 2 years, 3 years later, I'm sitting having lunch with Jerry Reinsdorf, and he says, "Tommy, you're the only person that came in and was at least reasonably honest about what you could do and what you knew and all the rest." And he said, "I love the honesty." Jerry and I've been really tight ever since. Now, he fired me, and I think the world of Jerry. So anyway, the interview ends. I walk out and I walk down the stairs, and about a half a block away there's a payphone. So I pick up the phone, dial my wife, and say, "Okay, look, call the realtor, start packing, we're moving. This was a sales job. I'm going to get this job." And she's like, "You are? No, there's no way. You don't know TV. You're not a TV face, the whole bit." So anyway, I get the job, Zech. We move up, and I'm there for 17 years.
Tom, you had 17 great years, okay? And you're awesome. You're just an awesome person, but I just can't imagine what a great experience to be around that organization all those years. But I know one particular incident that I do want to hear about. I believe that you went to a movie theater with Michael. Yeah, Tommy.
It's
Yeah,
Thanksgiving. Zach, you'll love this.
with big Red Kerr. And by the way, I'm just gonna put this in before we talk about that movie theater. So Tom and Red Kerr, and we just lost Stacey King.
Yeah.
They were the three, absolutely, there's no question, tallest men ever on a broadcasting team. Right, Tom?
Yeah, Bill Walton came up to me one time and he said, "Tommy, I don't like the fact that you have a record over me." I said, "Bill, if I hadn't gotten hurt, I'd have even more." And he just started dying laughing. He thought that was the funniest thing. So, okay, here's the story. And
Thanksgiving. Let's go.
I've gone on way too long with all my stories. I'll try and make this a little bit better. It's Thanksgiving Day. We're in Salt Lake City. We're all bored out of our mind. We have gone through the turkey, eaten all the dressing, all that stuff, and people are there serving it. So Michael comes over and he sits down and he says, I'm going to go out of my mind. And he's looking at Red and me and he's like, we got to do something. And I said, why don't we go to a movie? And he says, I can't go to a movie. How dumb are you? And I said, well, that's up for debate. But why don't, there's nobody going to be going. They're all Mormons. They're going to do Mormon stuff today. They'll hate you tomorrow. So I go over and I asked one of the guys, a paper I get. This is how you did it in the old days. For those of you that don't know, you got a newspaper and you look through all the listings, what's playing. Well, Casino's playing. And I say to the guy that's serving us, I said, are any of these real close? He said, that one's 2 blocks away. What he didn't tell me, Zetch, is that in Salt Lake City, a block is about 8 miles. Anyway, I walk over and tell Michael, I said, hey, this is only 2 blocks away. Why don't we go see Casino? We'll have a blast. There's 8 of us, 9 of us, something like that. Red Kerr goes with us. We're like 12-year-old boys. We're throwing popcorn at each other. We're yelling at the movie theater screen. Don't give her the money. Oh my God, you'll never see it again. Or words similar to that. There may have been a few other words in there. So anyway, we finished the movie and we have had a great time. I mean, we have laughed and sung, thrown popcorn at each other. There's more popcorn on the floor than what was eaten. So anyway, Michael comes up to me, sitting right behind me, taps me on the shoulder, and he says, all right, walk outside and tell me how many people are out there. And I said, Mike, it's Thanksgiving Day. The Mormons will hate you tomorrow. They don't care about you today. He taps me again. He said, get your big ass up, walk outside, and just see how many people there were. Zetch, I am not exaggerating. I walk outside and I'm expecting there's 2 people waiting in line. We were the only people in the theater, by the way. There was 8 theaters. We were the only 5 or 8 or 10, whatever it was. There had to be 10,000 people out front. The whole time, the guy that's taking tickets and the guy selling popcorn, hey, you got to come down here. Michael Jordan's here. Hey, you got to come down here. Michael Jordan's here. Now, whoever they called, several other people. And I'm dead serious. There had to be 10,000 people. Now I got a problem because I got to walk in and tell Michael he was right. I don't mind all the other stuff, but walking back in saying Michael was right, that's going to hurt me more than anything else. So I walk in and say, well, there might be a few people out there. And one of his security guards starts dying laughing. He said, 5,000, 6,000. I said, yeah, maybe more. He's like, oh, no. So we walk out and we're going to do like Muhammad Ali, right? Where you get the square around the guy and then you're going to run out. We made a tactical error. And I'll be the first to say this. We put Johnny Kerr, 812 Methuselah, at the very front of the line. Johnny has got to be 77, something like that. He's at the front. And we are going nowhere because he won't push people out of the way. He's a nice grandfather. Finally, Michael breaks out of the group and runs the long 2 blocks back. And when we get back, he's like, I told you, how stupid are you? What's wrong? Now, this is how we talk to each other all the time. So I would say these things right back to him. But in this case, there wasn't a lot I could say because he was right on the money.
Listen, when you were with Michael, as during games and practice and so forth. How was his relationship with Scottie Pippen? How did that go?
Until the last year was great. The last season, Scottie sat out the beginning of the season in a contract dispute. This is a contract that Jerry Reinsdorf told him, don't sign this. This is a bad deal. But his agents had negotiated it, and they told Scottie, oh, you're going to get all this money up front. It's going to be great. Well, the agents took a lot of it, I guess, whatever. Anyway, his last year, Scottie was mad, and so he sat out the first month and a half, and that Michael was not happy about that. Michael was pretty upset about it. Before that, whenever they'd go anywhere, they went together. I mean, they were like this. They would walk places, go wherever, and because they were so good and so competitive, they'd work so hard. But that last year, it kind of soured a little bit.
What about Phil as a coach? I mean, you can't take anything away. The guy won everywhere.
He was terrific. He understood how to ride guys, how to talk to people. He was great with us. He'd do almost anything he needed to do to win. He knew how to do. He knew how to win and how to get the most out of you. I thought Phil was a great coach.
He he ended up with the Lakers, and
Yeah,
he was involved with the gal out there, Jeannie Buss, right?
yeah,
Who's
yeah.
the
He and
owner's
Jeannie
daughter.
were dating. I think while he was coaching, um, and then finally that ended. But yeah, and he was part of the group that was trying to keep Shaq and Kobe from killing each other, because they did not get along at all.
Let me
Um,
go ahead.
yeah, Shaq. We were playing them one time, and they were so good. He'd been out for 6 weeks, something like that. Well, Phil took a lot of the staff members with him when he went to the Lakers from the Bulls. So I knew a lot of those guys. So one of them, who will remain nameless, came up to me and said, "Ask Shaq how much he weighs." So we go over to the bench. I went over to Kobe and I said, Shaq was just about to come out for warm-ups. He hadn't played, again, 6 weeks, practiced on anything. So I said, Kobe, we got to get him to sit down, and then I'm going to ask him a question. And he's like, "You're going to bust him, aren't you?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "Nobody else does." So he comes over, sits down, and I said, "Shaq, let me ask you something. How much weight are you trying to put on? Are you like a grizzly bear that's trying to put on that extra layer of blubber before the?" And I'm telling you, Kobe was laughing so hard he almost fell out of the chair. Byron, we had a great group. Shaq just looks at me and he says, "I will kill you. One day, when you least expect it, I will murder you, just so you know it's coming." Okay, I appreciate that, Shaq.
Hey, how about we're getting close to wrapping it up, but I want to talk a little bit about today. Of course, we know the Knicks won. That's a great. I mean, it's a great thing for that city. What do you think about that guard of the Knicks, Tom? I mean, you've been around basketball your entire life. I haven't seen much like that guy.
It's interesting. I've known him since he was knee high to a grasshopper. His daddy played for the Bulls. Rick Brunson played for the Bulls when I was there. So I've known Jalen forever. And he's always been that kid. If there was a ball rolling, he would run over, grab it. Even if it took him tumbling, he was going to get that ball. Great kid. I think, it's interesting that you pay all this money, you do all the scouting, have all the AI involved, and you still miss on a guy. How many teams missed on him in the first round and drafted somebody that they've since cut? I don't know what the number is, but it's not small. He is so good. But it seems like now we see more and more second rounders. The big guy from Denver, there was Michael Porter from Mizzou, guys that just kind of slip through the cracks and end up being not just good, but great players.
Well, what I really was impressed, of course, I was impressed with his game. That's why I'm talking to you about. I mean, it was just phenomenal. But I was really impressed, Tom, and you did this a lot. The interview after the game, the young
Yeah.
guy, he hardly even wanted to talk. He was so humble. And what a great role model for young kids. You see these young kids shooting their mouth off in the gym, and they know this and they know all that stuff.
Yeah.
High school kids. Take a look at that young guy. He was the most valuable player in the NBA playoffs, took his team to a championship, and look how he conducted himself when that game was over. That's
Yeah,
what you
all the
want.
flopping, all that stuff. He doesn't do that. He works his ass off every day. And that's what it takes. It takes being prepared for whatever you're going to do. You want to be better at math? Spend 15 minutes extra after your homework and work on math. You want to be better at playing the piano? Spend another 15, 20 minutes practicing after the hour you have to practice is over. Put in
Well,
that little bit of extra and always be prepared.
our young kids today, they need to be around and they need to hear people like Tom Dore talk. Because when you grew up, and you're younger than I am, But when I grew up, there was no compromising. I mean, if you didn't work hard in practice, your coach would just tell you to get your ass over there and sit down. I didn't
Yeah.
even look at you. You can't.
Mine told me that I had to come sit next to him one time. And I decided that after he kicked me about 5 times, certainly all on accidents, Edge, none of them were intentional. But
Yeah.
I finally realized, you know, it's better to be on the floor than to be over here. I don't want to do this anymore.
Yeah. Well, are we ready to wrap it up here? Okay, Tom Dore. Listen, man, I can't. I mean, I have a lot of interviews coming up, but I'm not sure that I'm going to have any interviews that match this one. This has been phenomenal. I will say this next week. I'm having two guys in here, Bob Hardcastle and the other guy is Rich Rogers, both St. Louis Beaumont High School in the way back in the day when Tom Stanton was coaching there. Well,
Sure.
both these guys are Beaumont graduates. Rich Rogers is in his 90s, and he's the first basketball coach at Parkway West High School. Think about this, Tom. Now, listen to me.
Wow.
He's the first one when they opened the doors, and he's still over there sitting on the bench helping those coaches.
That's something.
That means he's seen every player
Yeah.
in the history of that school. I mean, are you kidding me? And then Hardcastle, he's just a little skinny-looking guy. He was the American Legion Player of the Year when Stockton Post, that's Beaumont kids, won the national title. So the future's bright. Tom, stay well, stay healthy, and I will call you again one night when I'm on my way up to. I was on my way up to the corner last night, just to tell you, to a place called Tully's Tap Room.
Yep.
I got to the tap room a little late, but I got there. Great seeing you, my friend. You're the
Good
best.
to talk to you, Zed. You're a good man, brother.
Thank you for being with us.
Glad to. Take care.
Thank you. And I will now sign off and tell my viewing audience, you need to really see this one because this guy is just a special guy. Be well, and remember one thing, today's the youngest you'll ever be.